I posted how to declutter childhood memories like a minimalist, and I think that video resonated with you for a reason. Stuff is the unintended result of attachment. Our love results in stuff. This may be the love of a fond memory, or these items may be the result of a loved one passing away. And oftentimes that second category is a little bit harder to declutter than our own childhood. These overlap quite a bit because memories get linked to items, even scents at times, and just picking something up can teleport you back to a season of your life that has passed. Today I'm going to talk to you about Matt Paxton's book, The Legacy List, as well as The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, and how we can steward our loved one's legacy as well as our loved one's belongings or estates after they've passed. I mentioned these two books because often if you're going through something as difficult as this, you need as many resources as you can. I have also experienced loss, but I would not claim to be an expert, and I would lean towards these authors and the books that they've written. In Matt Paxton's books, he teaches us how to keep the memories while losing the stuff. And sometimes you can hear the word stuff and think, but it's not stuff. It's remnants of my loved ones. It's their legacy. It's their belongings. And I want to carefully steward that and pass that on to the next generation. But when you're dealing with a whole home full of stuff or a storage unit full of stuff, it's almost as though the items overwhelm you to the point where you cannot process the emotional connection behind them. These items have emotional value, and you want to capture that true meaning, the history of your family, the history of your connection with this loved one. That's the legacy you want to pass on, a legacy of love and memories. Not a storage room of stuff that the next generation is then going to have to deal with, and they won't know what's important. So it's actually quite helpful for us to take these items and intentionally sort them so that what's most important isn't lost in the shuffle. Have you ever heard the phrase, searching for a needle in the haystack? Imagine you didn't know what a needle looked like. We don't want our children to have to sort through our items and not know what's important, to not know what holds our memories. I would label it as intentionality. Intentionally storing, intentionally using, intentionally displaying, versus mindlessly hoarding these items. Hoarding without processing the emotions behind the items isn't stewardship. I understand this is a hard process and maybe something that you need to take your time on, and that's okay. If you are the loved one going through these items, take it step by step. Maybe create a plan. Focus on a room or a storage unit at a time. Invite other loved ones in to help. And remember, the goal is to take these memories and pass them on to the next generation. One piece of advice I'll say is the items that hold the most memories are very rarely the expensive items. This isn't based on financial decisions. So if you're looking at a loved one's car, a loved one's home, you can usually sell those items without them being, well, I remember my father tossing the softball with me and helping me get ready for my games. I remember my dad taking me to a baseball game and having that ball get signed by someone I was really proud of. My passion for baseball or softball was picked up by my grandfather or my father, and it's something we connected over. That's just an example I made up, but you can see how this $3 baseball is worth so much more than a car that's probably not going to bring you much money. So if it's creating this unity in your family, remove the financial piece and focus on the memories. Using my childhood mementos as an example, I took my childhood baby doll and put it in my children's playroom. That way they can play with the very baby doll I vividly remember my granny bringing to the hospital to gift me after I'd been bit by a dog. When I grew up, my mom used to show me her baby doll in her hope chest, and I'm sorry, Mom, but that thing's terrifying looking.
Oh my gosh!
And I did not look at it and feel any sort of emotion. I'm very happy she's been able to hold on to it, and I remember her and her mom talking about it whenever they'd go through the hope chest. But as far as my emotion goes, I felt nothing but a little bit of fear when I saw that creepy baby doll. I did not want my boys to have the same reaction to my baby doll when the time came for them to go through my items. So instead, I cleaned the baby doll and put it in their playroom, and they've been playing with it ever since. She's very banged up. She may not last long, but my son, right now in bed as he's down for nap, is cuddling with my childhood baby doll. I think that that's so special. The other day, I opened the refrigerator and found this little hand-carved wooden box I got on a field trip to a national park when I was learning about the Indian reservations. And that trip impacted me so much, I kept this handmade box, a little bowl type box with a lid. I kept it for years, and my mom later on passed it back to me. So now, again, it's in my children's playroom. They really can't break it. It's handmade, it's wood, it's sturdy, but they cook in it a lot. So I opened my fridge and I found this in my refrigerator. My children were pretending to cook and had put something inside the refrigerator. Again, something from my childhood is actively being used in the children's playroom. If they had opened up the box in 30 years after I'd passed away and they didn't recognize that little hand-carved box, it would have meant nothing to them and been easy for them to declutter. But now they'll have their own memories. I think displaying something or putting it to use is far better than storing it. This last Christmas, I opened up the Christmas memory bin to find out 2 special childhood ornaments from my childhood had broken. Christmas ornaments aren't something that would have been displayed year-round anyway, but it was kind of sad that in the 10, 11 months this wasn't being used is when it broke versus that little bit of time where it's displayed. And it made me realize, even if I'm worried that a Christmas ornament might get hung up because my children are 3 and 5 and they're 2 wild little boys, keeping them in the box and away from my wild boys isn't what I want to do, because it could just as easily break in storage. Life is meant to be lived, not observed, not stored. Do you remember the old saying, hide it under a bushel? No, I'm going to let it shine, this little light of mine. These memories are light. These memories hold love. And I want to let it shine to my family and to the next generation. Mental Art of Swedish Death Cleaning is a book that looks at our finite lives with intentionality and focus. It helps you to sort out what truly matters and figure out how to pass it on. These 2 books tie so nicely together because Legacy List looks at items that you've perhaps received from someone who's already passed away. But The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning realizes that one day, with the simple reality of our finite lives, we will be the ones who move on. How much more fitting is it for us to help our family know what's important, to know the memories that are attached to it? This is helpful as a fellow human. Looking into the future, it gives us almost the gift of hindsight. Using the lens of reality, we can see our lives have an expiration date. And that's not a bad thing. We want to use our lives to their fullest, use our items to their fullest. Why store it in a china cabinet, awaiting the day that you can't use it anymore, when you could be using it right now? Using this lens of reality helps us see how you yourself can pass on your legacy towards others. Use your retirement, sort through your estate, and label the items that hold the most memories for you. Perhaps to gift them to your loved ones even now. Biblically, I think of 2 examples. In Genesis, the Lord tells us to take dominion of the earth. He is not saying domination, control, forcing our way. He's saying dominion, care, as a gardener cares for their garden. We want our lives to bear fruit. So how can we cultivate that? We don't want to control it or hide it or let it waste away. We want to intentionally care for it and pass on that fruit to the next generation. Another example is the way that in the New Testament, it felt like we were almost encouraged to be detached from our belongings. Our items become shared amongst us, and by that I mean from home to home and family to family. The lack of attachment to our items in the New Testament was to allow us to be purposefully nomadic while sharing the gospel, while helping our fellow man. My father's pizza pan, he eventually passed on to my brother Stephen. When my brother passed away, he passed away tragically, and he passed away unexpectedly at a very young age. All of his stuff was kept in storage. Absolutely nothing got tossed for a very long time. Later, my husband and I were evacuated from where we were living in India because of COVID, and we started with nothing. My mom went through the attic and found several of the items from Stephen's starter kitchen set. A little ladle, this pizza pan from my dad, and so that's still the pizza pan I use. It's my only sheet pan, and it's something of my brother's that I get to use all the time. So yes, you could say it's just a pizza pan, but to me it's far more. I'm sure that you can hear the love that I hold for my brother. Let me give you just a few examples of his items and what we did with it. He passed away in the VA on Memorial Day, and I had to go to the VA to pick up his belongings. They'd left everything as he had it, and in some ways it was almost like an echo of his presence in the room. He'd gone throughout the lounges in the VA and picked up all the National Geographics and left them on a stack at his bedside. I knew growing up that was his favorite magazine, and one of his biggest wants in life was a lifetime membership to the National Geographic magazines. So to see that he had been reading those right before he passed away was so meaningful. Now in his drawer were socks that I had bought him. He'd gotten transferred to a VA in Arkansas, whereas his stuff was in Missouri. So I brought him socks and a few simple things. The socks he had worn and washed were folded and lined up in the drawer. He's a very organized person, obviously a vet, so he was Army. But I had just bought those items a week or two before, so they didn't necessarily hold meaning. The magazines did not belong to my brother, they belonged to the VA, so I didn't take them, but I still hold that memory close. These items, it was very easy to let go of. Though it reminded me of his presence, as I said, it felt like an echo. It wasn't the true items that brought memories. But when I was going through my childhood memories, I found a long sleeve blue shirt from my brother left over from a fun college experience when he was at University of Missouri at Rolla. A powder puff jersey, which meant the guys were the cheerleaders and the girls were the ones playing football. It was just a campus activity, and they made shirts for it, and he gave me his shirt. I never saw him wear it. I wasn't at that event, and I've just stored it in a box for years. So when I went through that box of childhood mementos, I decided, you know what, it's time. I'm going to wash it and hang it in my closet to wear it. I have not worn it, and it's been months. The idea of wearing it just makes me feel sad. It doesn't make me feel connected. Versus, he had a pair of dog tags made for me with my name on them, and wearing that makes me feel very close to my brother. I like that they lie close to my heart. He also gave me a Bible, and in it he wrote, "From your brother Stephen," on the eve of his first deployment. That Bible is far more meaningful. He also gave me a little Army bobblehead while he was at basic training. These gifts over the years are what hold far more memory to me, because I can remember him handing them to me. If my house were burning down and I had time to pick one memento from him, the shirt would not be it. Probably not even the pizza pan. It would be the Bible and maybe my dog tags. I don't want you to make your decisions based on fear, but I want you to look at it and say, of the items that my loved one has left behind, what holds the most meaning? What holds the most memory? Not the most financial gain, not the most utilitarian purpose. We're not going to keep a set of china just because it looked beautiful displayed in my grandmother's cabinet, but I never saw her use it, or an expensive piece of china that I know is simply expensive. The Minimal Mom, a channel here on YouTube, she talks about keeping her grandmother's red tablecloth because every time they had a birthday party, they used the red tablecloth instead of their daily tablecloth. So now she has used it for all of her children's birthdays. I think that that's exactly the point I'm getting at. What holds the meaning for you, and how can you thoughtfully use it or thoughtfully display it? If necessary, you can thoughtfully store it. Just make sure you're doing it with intentionality and being a steward of your loved one's belongings and your loved one's memories. This stewardship is an act of love. It may be hard right now, but it gives you a chance to express your love. So view it as an honor, not a burden. Please leave your information in the comments. I'd love to pray for you if you're going through this. Know that you are not alone, and God cares for the grieved. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.